when they have developments, a little more scrutiny, I guess, is all I'd say. I'll leave it at that. Thank you for raising this painful issue again, Alder Jetzer. It's still chafes me. Tim did a lot of due diligence, trying to get them to do the right thing, and they chose not to. So we'll remember that.
I was going to give my suggestion again. I did last time when we had that issue, because the developers you get reimbursed for. So maybe you want to hire someone to do video logging or some sort, so we know what we have after the developer's in there, and then you'll know what it looks like after the builder's been through there.
Yeah.
Then you got some ammunition to go against them, I think, in the future.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, too, the building inspection department and public works, now there's better coordination than there has been in the past between the two departments. So we're both aware of it, and prior to any certificate of occupancy is getting issued, the sidewalks will be getting fixed in the future before that.
Yeah, this happened before Tim was on board here.
Understood. I did have a question on the billing. I understood where we do 100% and we do 50 and we do 25. There's a couple 20% in here, and I wasn't sure how we get to that amount.
Yeah, is that on Richardson, those ones?
They were on Richardson, correct?
Yeah, so those were part of the 2023 project and were just missed by the contractor. So those percentages are adjusted to honor the pricing from 2023, but I included them in the 2024 project.
Got it.
I think it was just one location, but it's split weird, so it's a couple lines in there.
Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on the 2024 sidewalk replacement final assessment. Next agenda item 4A, approval of October 8th meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
I so move we approve October 6, 2025 meeting.
Moved by Mr. Wilborn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Don. Questions, corrections, additions, changes?
I have one.
Go ahead, Kim.
5C, the wording on the amendment, I didn't like the way it was said. It said amendment to modify electrical to have ability to turn one cord on at a time. And it really wasn't one. It was a bank of 4 and a bank of 6. So I thought we should change that. And then keep reading there, motion to add to amendment made by Wilburn, second by Lovedell, look into cost of modifying electrical, and if cost to do so is less reasonable, proceed. That doesn't make sense to me. It should say, look into the cost of modifying the electrical, and if cost to do so, the less reasonable to me was confusing. We were trying to look at if it was going to be, offsetting what it was for the electrical costs or a certain amount. So I just thought maybe
Strike
that
the
could
word
be.
less from that
yeah,
sentence?
maybe that could be
Okay.
reworded. Look into the cost of modifying electrical, and if cost to do so is reasonable. Yeah, take the word
Okay.
less out of there.
Less out and the
Yeah.
courts from 1 to 4.
Yeah,
Does that encompass
just so that the way it looks right now, if somebody read it, it'd be like each individual court would have their own thing, and I don't want to mislead people to think that.
Right.
So if we could make those changes to the minutes.
All right.
then I'm
Just
fine.
for clarification, Kim, the price was provided to us by
The electric,
by
Yeah.
Parks, and it was $3,200, and we looked at the payback at a couple of different scenarios, and we thought it made sense to.
Okay.
So that was approved by council at last meeting. Thank you
Sounds
for your
good.
keen eye on that. Any other questions on the minutes? Call the vote. All in favor of the minutes as amended signify by saying aye. Aye. The minutes are approved. Next, brings us to agenda item 5A, review discussion items. And the first one is holding tank upgrade at 2995 South Saline Road, Fitchburg, Wisconsin. I requested Tim to put this on the agenda just to kind of air this out. I'm not advocating or opposing it. I just want like us to have an open discussion and see where this goes. We have a number of people that would like to speak. Mark, do you want to start first? I call Mark Jones, 2666 South Sain Road, to speak on the matter. And Bill, yeah, let me have her, Bill. Okay, got it. And just to clarify, the property on sign Mr. Gervais's property has an existing holding tank. So that's all that he can have down there, and he is looking to have a larger one so he can expand his building. So that's where we're at, and that's what we're discussing here, hearing from residents in the city. Okay, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, Bill's going to start.
Okay, Bill.
Take over from there.
Bill Nebel for Mr. Gervasi.
Yes. Just wanted to say thanks for letting us come in and talk about this. I was going to say Mark Jones is here in regards to the business that he's in and the dealings he does with the county, septic fields, holding tanks, so forth. So that's your expert here. We have people in the audience. Joe Gervasi, of course, is right here on the end in the first row. Stuart Brown Sales, and ex-mayor Tom Clouder are here in favor of this being taken care of. So we've been working at this for a while, and I think that we have some things that need to be brought up and let you know where things are at with our project at this time. And I'm going to turn that over to Mark right now, and he can bring you up to speed with that.
Thank you, Bill. Mark Jones, 2266 South Sain Road, City of Fitchburg. I run a construction company in Fitchburg, and I work with Verona Septic, doing septic systems and holding tanks and things as such. Mr. Gervasi talked to me about the possibility of getting a holding tank for the front building. On that property now, the back building has a holding tank. The house that's there that Joe lives in has a septic field. And then the front building has nothing. And if that building to be utilized correctly needs to have restroom facilities in it. If it's open for public to come in there and without facilities, it's not a good situation. The county, I talked to the county about permits. They have no problem with it at all. And Fitchburg has veto power on that. If there's possibility of getting sewer into that area, that's the first choice, of course. And it won't perk for any kind of under the current standards, it won't perk down that low. And so the holding tank is the only choice available to Mr. Gervasi in order to put the restroom facilities in his front building. The back building is too far back to pump it back into that tank, so we would put a new holding tank in. Dave's got the pumping agreement from Dvorak Pumping that takes care of it. We've never had a problem with it at all, and that's pretty much, if Joe expands his trailer business there, he really needs to have restroom facilities there. So, any questions?
I guess I have a question. So the back property has a septic system?
The existing house that's there has a septic system.
And it perks fine? I mean, it
well,
perks,
it's
it has
old.
to get it?
It's old. It was put in, under today's standards, no, it would not perk.
Okay. Have you looked at a mound system?
You have to have 25% perkability to put a mound in.
Okay. And it wouldn't even get that much?
No.
Even though the house already has a septic system?
But under today's standards,
Yeah.
that would not be possible.
What size is the holding tank that is currently there for the back?
I don't know what I think it's I think it's 2,000 gallons, I believe.
What size are you looking at for the?
A 3,000, which is
So
pretty much standard
What kind
nowadays.
of uses do you want to have in the new building that are going to require you to have bathroom facilities?
Joe is planning on expanding his trailer business, and if he ever got to the point where he needed to retire and rent that building, it is unrentable without facilities.
What do you mean by expanding his trailer system? Working on more trailers, having people in, having more stored there? What, I mean, right now, because right now it's used for trailer servicing, correct?
Yes, manufacturing a trailer, slick rider trailers for pontoon boats. And he wants to expand that production line.
Mark, so what does that build, what do the people that are working in that building use now?
They have to walk all the way to the back building and use that. And Joe's been pretty kind to a lot of the bike path people will come in and ask to use the facilities, and he's been kind enough to not turn anybody away. So anyway, that's just being a good neighbor. So
I'll just that we have that Joe Geraci is here. Joe, did you want to speak tonight or not? No. Okay. And Stuart Brown is also here. That is speaking or to register and support. This time, I'd like the city to weigh in.
Could I ask a question before?
Go ahead.
The weigh in?
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Don.
I seem to recall this property either earlier this year or last year that we approved the septic to the back. And am I wrong, Tim, or?
Back on May 9th, 2023, Resolution 100-23 was referred out by council. It came in front of the Board of Public Works on May 15th, 2023. So this resolution conditionally approving a holding tank at 2995 was discussed. The board ultimately did approve it. They amended it with a condition 4 in the resolution that they would have to come back for a 5-year renewal. What kind of transpired after that meeting was there was some confusion with what was submitted in the application. On the application, a box was checked that it was a replacement of an existing system. So city staff thought the 2,000 gallon was being replaced, but the 2,000 gallon holding tanks remaining. And then in the application, it was a 5,000 gallon new holding tank being installed for a building that currently doesn't have restroom facilities.
So what was put in with that application? Anything?
Nothing. So right now, council has not, hasn't authorized anything. It's kind of sitting in a hold.
I would just add, the sewer hookup to get it there is likely over $250,000, probably at the low end, and then going the other way to where the city ends, it's uphill. So it's potential in 10 years or more. There could be sewer there, but right now it's that cost is prohibitive right now. Bill, did you have something?
Yeah, I guess I noticed that figure in there. Is that accurate?
We had cost, tried for that to see if we could go underground and up North Sain to Madison Met's interceptor. We had some pricing on that from 2 different contractors. The low was about $250,000, and then the high was up to almost $280,000, because it's all underground torpedo, putting that sewer line up there. And it's over 1,200 feet.
Okay. And yeah, so the construction going on there doesn't affect this estimate at all? The realignment of Sain Road?
no.
So if you put in a tank, do we need to worry about the the underlying, like, I mean, we passed an amendment to the road reconstruction to put in a whole bunch of extra gravel underneath. Do we need to worry about whether the ground can support this tank, or is there going to be complicating factors for that as well?
We don't feel that there will be. We've looked at where it would go. We don't feel there'd be a problem at all. So, it would be just south of the building. And no, I don't, professionally, I don't feel there'd be a problem there at all.
Okay. I guess a couple questions about the use of that building. You had said maybe expanding the manufacturing business. I feel like some months ago we talked about the possibility of having a restaurant there. What is the full gamut of uses that we envision?
Joe, over the years, has played with that idea, but it's not in the plans right now.
So expanding the manufacturing business and tell me more about that. I thought this was trailer storage. We're actually manufacturing trailers?
No, Joe has manufactured for years in the front building.
Okay.
Stuck rider trailers is what, and it's, but to bring in an employee, if you don't have facilities, it's just doesn't work very well.
How old is that facility?
The building, I could not tell you here. The back building was put in early 60s. Central Contracting built the back building. I don't know if they built the front building or not, but they were the ones that put in the sewer across the marsh, the original sewer for Mass Met.
Okay. Joe, how old is that, your front building?
Joe Wren's mother built it years ago, and I bought that in '83, but Stan Olson had been in there for a number of years, and he bought it from Joe Wren. But Joe Wren built the building that I'm in up front right now, and then he built the house where I live now, and him and his mother moved in there. So that those were built back in the 50s.
Anyone in the public besides Tom want to speak yet? Tom, why don't you come up then? Or
On his way up, I just
Go ahead.
wonder
I'm
about
sorry.
the current zoning for that property. Is this an allowed use, or is this
Yeah, it's already zoned for that.
zone? Okay.
We've checked it over the years. You want to go over?
what are you thinking, Tom?
You can.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Zach.
Putting it next to it, right?
Tom Clotter, 2583 Norwich Street, City of Fitchburg. You're looking at a guy that's worked for the city and government for probably 40 years. I think we should start off, though, by laying a little groundwork, especially for the public that's watching this tonight. Javasi's is on Sign Road if you go north, right on the curve as it hits McCoy Road. His business is right there. It would be on your left-hand side as you go north, right at that intersection. You know, there's so much in government that it seems to me lately we just don't have common sense. That's for a lot of things. But the fact is this guy's been in the city of Fitchburg for almost 50 years. 50 years. And he had, I'll lay it out a little bit, he had a little meeting with city government prior to this. And it didn't go well. They told him, no, that's fine. I wasn't at the meeting, and I can't speak for anyone else. But the city told him no. And You know, if I'm not mistaken, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but we're talking about a holding tank here. This isn't new. This isn't new. Gold Drive, I can take you down Gold Drive, Sain Road. There's all sorts of holding tanks. There's all sorts of wells. The city has that, not taken care of that. They're fighting with Greenfield Park down there. And I'd fight it too. But the fact is he wants to put a holding tank next to a holding tank to make it better. It's kind of funny, when I walked in tonight, there's 2 bikes outside here sitting in the hallway. So bicycles use this area, which is good. It's good. It's a good deal. So our not only Fitchburg residents, but county people outside Fitchburg, like to go in and use his restroom. And the funny thing about that is he never says no. And yet the city doesn't want to work with them on a holding tank. But I think, I'll change my tune a little bit, I think that can be re-talked about. It should be re-talked about. To grant, like, I'm going to say that again, the guy's been here 50 years, and he just wants to make a holding tank better, not only for the future, and you're right, I don't know anything about a bar. It's too far from my house, I can't walk. But the fact is he had talked about that, but that's not on the table right now. What's on the table is this holding tank to make it big, to make it bigger. So in talking to Dave, this was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, this was more of just a discussion, if I'm not mistaken, which in government we do this a lot. No problem. No problem. But I just want to tell you, boy, I mean, sometimes government just really gets in the way of a common person. And if he just came to the city of Fitchburg last year, I'd probably say no, 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 no. But you're talking about a guy that's been here 50 years. So you better think about that. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Tom. I'll add, one thing that I'm always, I think those who've been on the board with me, I'm always cautious about doing something that would set a precedent that would give other problems, but I don't necessarily see it here. The ordinance is relatively clear, though. It talks about only in a hardship. Well, the building has no septic, and wanting to add one seems to meet that. Tim, what is put you on the spot? What is the city's what is the city's stance on it? Where are they coming down?
So you are correct. The city ordinance does state that where, to remedy a situation where extraordinary or undue hardship would otherwise occur. So if it were to be determined that this was a undue hardship, then yes, in that same section of code, it also states no waiver shall be granted to any property within the utility which can be served by utility sewers. So it can be served by utility sewers. There's just a cost associated with that they had mentioned upwards of $250,000.
I think the $250,000 represents the hardship. I understand. It's pretty clear. I understand where the C is coming from. Just kind of informal poll of the board members.
I guess I have a question as to how many bikers use this, and if it's that big of an area where there's a lot of bicycle traffic in that area, maybe Park should be looking at putting in some type of a rest area to service that. If it's like 1 or 2 a month, then it's probably not, a very high need. And then I guess my other question has to do with, even if you expand the manufacturing business, how many employees do you think you're going to have to be servicing at that point in time? I mean, because you're even proposing to put in a bigger store or a holding tank than what is currently there serving the other building. So I can't, I don't know, in my mind, I don't know what expanding the manufacturing means, if it means adding 10 employees or 15 employees or 2 employees or what. I mean, it's sort of a relative thing as to how necessary is the whole project.
I'd add, Kim, right there in the corner, there is a bicycle junction park lot, where people are there quite often. And I think if the access was known, if someone wanted to provide it privately, I would rather do that versus having our parks or whatever, we just had to pay $6,000 for a toilet up at, yeah. So, if a resident was willing to do that, and I also.
But it's only while he's open besides. I mean, you're not open 24 hours a day, or your bathroom isn't available. It's just while the business is open, and it seems like most of the recreational bike activity would be while the business is not even open, weekends or, after hours. That's when people go on their recreational bike rides. So I don't know the relative amount. That's, I guess, just what part of my question is how much of that is there, and is that a real need? And with the expansion, about how many employees do you think it would take?
Well, the other thing that comes into play here is that I think Mark alluded to this too. If down the road, if Joe was to needing to rent out that building for some reason, and maybe the business was sold to somebody, whatever it is, it's not rentable for that either.
Got to have restrooms.
That's the way it is. So this isn't something that's insurmountable as far as he takes care of anybody that's on the bike path. He lets them without any stoppage of that. He pumps the tank by Dvorak out of Stoughton. He provided the easement across his driveway for no cost for the bike path to be finished. And sometimes it'd be nice if he got a little help on his side too. And we're not talking about building something brand new, and we're not talking about putting a holding tank in the first time. He's got one already. It's existing, and Dane County doesn't seem to have a problem with it. So we're kind of, and we've researched this a lot, having bids from a couple contractors to put a line in with Madison Met. It's $250,000, $280,000. That doesn't make any sense. And Madison Met will not provide sewer over to his property because they are coming down McCoy Road from 14 and they're stopping at the railroads on the east side of the railroad, and they will not extend until at least 2035, 10 years from now. So that's a hardship that's automatic. And I've called them and she said, oh no, we've already got the funds for that, and we can't go back, in what we're doing now and add to it. So he's out of luck again. So we need some help here.
Another thing that you should realize, Kelly Moss has the old H&M distributing building, and that is on holding tanks.
Where is that built?
That is on Clayton Road, right
yeah,
behind the fire station.
It's real close.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on a holding tank. Has been for, that building was built probably 40 years ago, and that's been on a holding tank for that period of time.
I'm just going to poll the board here. Dave, do you have an opinion?
My opinion is that the man needs it. It's a hardship for him about it. And maybe 20 years from now, we're gonna have sewer going through there and they get hooked to it.
Right.
I
Bill.
don't think it's gonna create a
sorry.
problem.
Okay. Bill, your thoughts?
I guess I'd like to hear from Tim and/or Tracy. What are the main reasons to object to something like this, rather than just say, yeah, sure, go ahead? I mean, do holding tanks have a bad reputation for overflowing, leaking?
They can be if they're not maintained, so it does come down to, you know, that they would have to properly maintain it per their permit, which is, you know, semi-annually, and then submitting the report to the county. If it doesn't get pumped down, you can overflow, it can leak. Concrete, the tank could crack, and, you know, leakage can occur, and, you know, you're close to the Nine Springs area, so those are kind of the environmental issues that could potentially happen.
But there is a tank there right now.
Yeah. Could I answer some of that? Mark has, or I should say Joe, has worked with Dvorak Plumbing to pump and maintain his existing holding tank for many, many years, every year, and there's not been a problem with that. He keeps it maintained just like he does his business. He builds wonderful equipment, and he doesn't slack on that. So there is Mark has a letter from Dvorak, Steve Dvorak, that says, yes, he works with us, we maintain it, everything's fine, and we will make sure that we will take care of the new tank, just the same way. So, you know, and the county would rather see the holding tank because he can't get anything else right now. There's no sewer, and he can't go up the street. So it is a hardship.
Done? Or unless you had something else, Bill? Done?
And I might be lost with what we talked about earlier in May with it. If we said okay to a holding tank then, well, and 500,000 or whatever, 500 gallon tank
It
is
was a
sufficient?
new 5,000 gallon
5,000.
tank.
Okay.
So the existing 2,000 would stay, and then a 5,000 gallon would get installed. 5,000 was what was submitted in the application. 3,000 is the first time I'm hearing that tonight.
That is in addition to the 2,000 they have that they were going to keep, so it would be a total of 5. But they were originally going to replace the 2,000 with the 5,000?
No, the application had a shop drawing for a
Okay.
5,000 gallon tank. So to staff that, it was the 2,000 plus 5,000. So if 5,000 is the total, then a 3,000 gallon shop drawing should have been submitted.
The other thing no one's mentioned in this, which you get this compounding effect here, is you have another building there, residence, that has septic that won't be acceptable when that fails. So you're going to add another tank down the road as a hardship. It's compounding. At some point in time, you do have to bite the bullet and just hook up the sewer.
Tracy, give me 1 second, I'll let you talk. As I view it, say he wanted to put up a new building, and the only way he could serve it was septic, we'd say no. No, there's new building, no, it's a bad, it's not a fit there. There's existing building, make better utilization of it. That's kind of where I fall, but Tracy's been involved with this for
So I guess
forever.
one thing I just want to make note is that up until this point, the conversations that we've had is in regards to a restaurant at this facility or at this property, right? And this is the first time tonight that we're hearing that it's an expansion of a business and employees. And like Tim said, this application here has a 5,000 gallon tank. And I think before we would approve anything, we would want to see the calculations on what they would need for an expansion for just a couple employees at a business.
Is the size really that relevant? If you wanted to put in a much larger one so you didn't have to pump it as often, Tracy?
Well, it is because, the more often you have to pump it, the greater the chance that you could have an overflow and have sewage, on the ground and environmental impacts. But I think the other thing I would point out is this is an existing building that didn't have sewer before. So it's yes, if you want to make it into something different where you did have bathrooms, there's a cost to it. But if you didn't do that, you're not losing money either because it's what it was. And now if you're adding bathrooms here and you're allowing a tank here, how does that affect all other future decisions when people come to us and want to put a tank on a property? I mean, you call it an existing building where you want to put sewer and you're adding to it, but what happens when someone comes and they want to build a building and they use this as the example? Are we ready to respond to that?
Well, I think I was pretty clear when I said if it was a new building, it would be a no. It would be no right off the bat. The ordinance is pretty clear about, about that. But I am very concerned about precedent, Tracy. I think you probably are aware of that.
But we have done that in the past, where they couldn't. We did it on Cyan Road a few years back.
We granted a holding tank when the existing
Septic
property, their septic failed and there was no other, they had no option for a mound, and that's.
I think part of the question for me has to do with, what is really the need? It's just like you talk about, possibly renting it out to someone else. What kind of a business would that be? Is that the driving factor here, or is it possible expansion for manufacturing? We've talked about restaurant. I don't think we really know what the use is if you get a different holding tank or a holding tank in there to service that building, does that open up a whole different marketability for that building and that property? So I guess I'm sort of confused. If it's just for, to service the existing building, it seems like a 5,000 gallon tank is large for that when they don't have any right now. But then again, the other thing that I'm hearing is, this whole area, there's holding tanks, Clayton Road, you mentioned different ones on Cyan. It seems like this area needs some kind of a sewer, and maybe that's part of the question, is that the city should be talking with MMSD or somebody else as to if we're having this problem in this same area with several different residences, and we keep talking holding tank, is that solving the problem or is that not solving the problem?
Excuse me, but
Kim, I think I can address that for you.
Okay.
We're proposing a 3,000 gallon, not a 5,000. Okay, and if you would, or one of you had posed the question about the house that's there now, if that system failed, that system could be tied into the holding tank that we're putting into now, so there would not have to be another one. But that is instead of a 2,000, that's why we're going to a 3,000.
So what's the location of where the new one would be in relationship to where the 2001 is now?
Oh, the 2001 is behind the back building.
And the new one would be where?
Would be just south of the front building.
So between that and the house?
Yes.
Okay.
So it would be accessible to the house if it ever needed it. And you're correct that, yes, we should look at if that area needs to be sewered, especially with Kelly Moss and the amount of employees that they have at that facility. But if sewer did come in, the holding tanks would have to be abandoned and removed, and they would have to hook up sewer. That's code. So you can put the tank in, allow him to do his expansion. And if sewer ever comes, correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy, if sewer ever comes by, they have to hook up, so.
Yeah, and that's important to note too, because the McEwen property is to the south of there, and there's periodically interest in that property and developing that property or a portion of that property, and in order to do that, they would need sewer too. And to get to McEwen, they would run right by Gervasi's property. So it's important we all know that as well, because they could put this tank in, spend all this money, the sewer goes in, then they're assessed for the sewer, and they have to connect to municipal sewer at that time.
Seems like that's a risk he's willing to take, though.
We're well aware of that.
Yeah. The one, just to, Kim, I wanted to know what the ultimate, limiting the scope of this board, it's more of a planning, more of a planning thing on feasibility of wants to have it for this building. As long as I assume he's not putting in an illicit narcotics growing operation in it or something illegal, which isn't the case. Beyond I think that's beyond the scope of this group. That's a planning thing, which obviously Tracy and Tim are involved too. Yeah. Anything else on that? Go ahead, Bill.
So are there imminent plans to expand the manufacturing business here? I mean, what sort of a time frame are we talking about? If we do have, sewer hookup near the property in 10 years, and the holding tank would need to be removed, properly abandoned, et cetera, and hooked up at that time, I guess I'm wondering what's happening between now and then.
Probably nothing, because they have availability of sewer for it.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about if we can get a holding tank in the ground in the next 8 months or something, what is he going to do? How is the business expanding? What are we expecting there? And I guess I'm curious to know, what's going to happen with the property.
Well, I don't want to talk for Joe. I just as soon have him say that, but it's a family business that he has now, and that is storage of trailers and boats and winterized and so forth. But he makes pontoon boat trailers and boat trailers by hand. He's a machinist. He's been doing work like that for his whole life. So as the business could grow if something was done there, his son works right up in the other building, and sure, there probably would be people that were hired. I don't know how many or what his needs are, but we're speculating on things here. He needs a couple restrooms put in, and he's been approved to do that with a holding tank through Dane County, and he knows that he's going to have to get rid of that if sewer is granted to his property. But if it's 10 years from now, that's a hardship. Can't wait that long. And it can't go up on Madison Met for $250,000. That just is going the other way in his business then. So
His property, I'm sorry, Bill, to interrupt.
Oh, no, it's fine.
His property becomes more valuable too. That's the other thing, is that
Yeah.
they're able to assess it city's able to assess it at a higher value. I'm sorry, Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess just for clarification, I'm assuming that with the reconstruction of Sain and McCoy, a sewer line exists along Sain that he could tie into. It's just a question of, where does it go from there? It's got to hook up to the nearest interceptor, which, is that right?
No. It doesn't come down Sain all the way
No,
to
it doesn't, no.
Stops.
It stops at the fire station
Yeah.
up above, and
The sewer-
Madison Met
yeah.
Go ahead,
stops at the railroad tracks.
The interceptor, the Sain interceptor, which services the fire station, is not deep enough to service Gervasi's property or the McEwen property. The sewer to service both those properties would need to come from the north on Sain Road and tie directly into MMSD's line through the Nine Springs E-Way.
Right.
Kelly Moss is different, just because Kelly Moss came up. Eventually, someday he'll be serviced from the east, from the Sain interceptor as it extends closer to his property.
Thank you for that clarification, Tracy.
So there's no plans to ever put a sewer line from the fire station going north to that intersection, only from the North Saline Road down south to McCoy Road?
That's correct. By the time you get to West Clayton and Saline, then the sewer would be out of the ground. It's not deep enough.
How old is the existing 2,000 tank, older than tank?
1993.
93? Put in. How long do they typically last?
Question maybe for Mark.
I didn't hear the question.
Oh, the existing 2,000 was put in 93. How long do they typically last?
How long is, I'm sorry.
The holding tanks?
What's the lifespan of a holding tank?
Yep.
Oh, they're,
50?
well, Kelly Moss's was put in 40 years ago, maybe a little more. Before we came, Kelly Moss building, I believe, was built before we were a city.
Could have been. I don't know.
So, and those holding tanks are there and checked every year, and they're fine. So,
You have something coming in?
Just saying, but we don't even really have an application in front of us, and the one that had been previously would have to be modified because it doesn't meet what it is that they're talking about now, so. I mean, I think there's a lot of questions, but I mean, I agree that, yes, he's been a good business owner and he's been in Fitchburg for a long time, but, you know, again, it's our responsibility to be consistent and treat everyone according to the rules, according to the ordinances, and with respect. So I guess we would have to take that all into consideration if we get an application that is meeting what they're currently wishing to do.
the difference between the cost of a 3 and a 5,000 gallon is considerable. So, the 3, we feel, after I got involved, we evaluated what was there, and 3 will handle what he's gonna do, and it will be enough capacity for the house if it's ever needed. A 5 is a little bit of overkill, so, and the cost difference is several $1,000s between the 2 tanks. So the 5 is, it isn't needed.
So is the, back to Tim and Bill, is the
Yeah.
application they have to you incorrect? And Tracy, all three of
It's
you?
not correct.
It's not correct? So it has the wrong size tank on it?
It also
we
says
just have
it's a
to amend
replacement.
that.
And it does say that
application.
it's replacing an existing one, which is not the case either.
No, that stays, and a new one is put in.
Well, then, this is where I'm going to leave it. It's on you to get a new application to the
Okay.
city that is correct.
Sure.
If that's done, I'm inclined to create a resolution asking for the approval of council. If another alder is willing to second it, is kind of where I'm seeing that. I'm very, I am very cautious, about setting a precedent, but it's existing building here already. So, all right, we'll close this.
Can I ask one final
Yeah.
question on this? To service the 2 outside of no sewer comes in, the service whatever the existing fabrication, the front building, the house, and the existing one, if one tank was put in between those buildings, that was 3,000, would that handle them all? No. Instead of,
I don't think so. Because initially that 2,000 was gonna come out, so to add the 2 to the 3 would have been 5,000.
Correct.
That's what we're
but
talking
would
about.
3 handle the current facility
Yeah, but
that's
no.
out there? And
No.
you just put one tank in the middle and service all the buildings?
I don't think, Mark, do you hear that? Would one tank, if you took out the 2,000 gallon tank and replace it with just a 3,000 in the middle of everything, would that take care of all the property? I think the idea was to leave the 2 in now and then add the 3 to make up the 5 total. And that, we don't have to rip up one.
I
put another one in.
understand, I'm just wondering if a 3,000.
Well, that's why it was sized like that.
Yep.
Tom's got something to say, then we'll
Just-
close this.
A couple of comments, things that I've heard, just to let you know. Terra Vesta, I know for Bill and the city council, it's going to come up. I know it's going to come up. I can guarantee it's going to come up. I was mayor when we did Terra Vesta. And I had more people in this city chambers from the town of Dunn talking about how the water's going to get polluted, the stream's going to go to hell, the lake's going to go to hell, and none of that came true. None of that came true. And let me tell you who they were. They're from the town of Dunn. They wanted to tell the city of Fitchburg how to run it. But I'm sure with a holding tank like this in this area, they're going to bring up that it's going to pollute the stream, or it's going to pollute the water, or at that time we had a trout stream. It's going to pollute the trout stream. None of that came true. None of it. And the other thing is, I like your idea, but the whole thing is just to help a guy that's been in the city, Fitchburg, 50 years. I can't pound that enough to tell you about it. And Kim, you've been here a long time. You know what I'm talking about. And I'm not here to pound on the last meeting that they had, but I think it can be relooked at. I wasn't at that meeting, but I think common sense can go a long way here. And if we can solve the problem for everyone, and let me make it clear too, Bill, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong. The work that's being done on Sign Road at McCoy is for public safety. We're not talking about sewer. We're not talking about, we may be talking about streetlights, but we're not talking about sewer. We're not talking about, how the water runs off. Well, maybe we are. Maybe we are. But the fact is when I was on the police force, we had a lot of accidents at that intersection. So now the city is doing something about it, which probably should have been 20 years ago. But you know what? It's money. But that's what's going on. Don't mix up apples and oranges here. I'm pretty sure we're doing traffic down there. We're not doing it's not about a septic system. Have a good night.
Thank you. Close that discussion. Thank you, everyone, for coming and your patience and your input on this. Okay. We're going to move ahead in our agenda then. Next, we have 5 Bravo, review of utility P-card and check payments. Tracy, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Okay. Do we have any questions, comments on these? Bill?
Yeah, so I saw there was a charge for a little over $1,000 for the State Lab of Hygiene Swan Creek sample analysis. I'm curious, is that our Swan Creek monitoring station?
Yes, that is.
Okay, and do we bear the full cost of those tests? Is that part of our TMDL, Yahara Winds participation, or how does that work?
I can check to see how that was coded.
I believe we do. I could be wrong, but.
Yeah, the testing, I think we are 100% pay for, but then the actual monitoring station is split up per the agreement the city has.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. And is that part of our participation in Yahara Winds?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The monitoring station was, Okay. Any other questions on the?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Tim.
There were a couple things in here for sewer patches on Agaman and Pheasant sewer patch. Is that, I don't really remember seeing those before. Is that something unusual or?
Yeah, those were an unusual situation. Typically with gravity sewer, it's not a pressurized pipe like water main where, when we're flushing or turning on a hydrant, we're kind of stressing valves or fittings. So that was kind of just the pipe. I don't know the exact cause of it, but what we are seeing is just kind of the bedding used in the past. There might have been a rock or something that it sat on, and just kind of over time it has either worn or cracked the pipe. So I suspect that's kind of the same situation.
Is Fitchburg Plant the city employees, or, they did the sewer one, but then the other one was Wolf Paving on the Pheasant sewer patch. Is that something that the city staff takes care of when it's discovered, or is that something that you?
Yes, so utility probably hired a contractor to help maybe excavate it and kind of investigate. But the patching our streets crew typically does for the utility. So that the Fitchburg plant was just kind of how they coded it. It may have been Payne and Dolan's plant for this. I can look up the
It's not
exact.
important. I was sort of surprised to see like two different locations if there was some known issue with the sewer lines, because like you said, they're not pressurized with water, that it's pretty unusual that something happens to them.
Sometimes it depends on the asphalt too, that they, and if they can get any asphalt from that plant that particular day. So that's maybe why you saw the Wolf Paving Company on Pheasant versus the Fitchburg plant off Egamon.
Okay, thank you.
Did we find it televising it, or it was bubbling out?
We found, I believe, a sinkhole. We found it.
Okay, all right, and that's all right. Thank you for, any other questions on the bills?
Tim, just a few of them, they're just, like the Field and Stream, it's a bunch of different charges. Are they on, track? Do we have a performance metric for them that says we need X amount of miles out of you or areas, and here was the cost, or is it they overrun it if they?
Yeah, Field and Stream we have based on their agreement. Kind of the certain areas for stormwater that we have them look at, and then it's time spent, and there is a fee that they're not to exceed for that. So, and we do monitor it when the invoices come in. We see how they're tracking to make sure they're not going over.
Okay, so for all of them in there, everyone's
Yes.
tracking?
I think they just get charged to different accounts at the city. That's why each line item is something different.
Yeah, I was just thinking of the cumulative.
Item 6, report of our Director of Public Works, Mr. Tim Volker, PE.
Thank you. Just a couple updates from our last meeting on October 6th. Chair Herbst requested a social media post regarding the leaf-free streets this fall. That social media post was posted on the city's Facebook page on October 13th, 2025. And then just to follow up on the bounce test that was performed at the McKee Farms Park tennis courts, our consultant Fred Kolkman, as I mentioned, he performed that test back on September 25th. At the October 6th Board of Public Works meeting, his report wasn't yet complete. On Wednesday, October 8th, he emailed us the bounce test report, and all 36 bounce test locations passed. So there was 6 courts. He picked 6 areas on each of the courts. I guess suggestion in the future, if you guys do hear, maybe there is a soft spot, it's something we can look at or investigate a little more closely. But Fred didn't see any issues with the installation.
Thank you.
And then just a couple updates. The Hate Farm Road will be closed from October 23rd, 2025 to October 31st, 2025. And this is to accommodate a water main installation for the Uptown Hills Development Project. And then the City of Madison will be holding a virtual public information meeting. This is for the Perry Street Connection Study on October 22nd at 6 p.m. So the Perry Street connection study is aiming to look for a design for a connection in the Perry Street area over the belt line. So this first meeting will kind of be a general information meeting about the ongoing study, along with a survey that residents can complete. And then there will be a second public information meeting detailing kind of different design alternatives in kind of spring of 2026. And then just a couple project updates. Phase 3 for the Saline Road reconstruction project. Both the binder and surface asphalt has been installed. Contractors currently installing the pavement markings, finishing the traffic signals, and then also completing restoration. So we are on track for a November 3rd opening. And then for our Fitchburg Road reconstruction project, the TPP was approved by council. So right now we're contacting the landowners and negotiating kind of for the temporary easements, permanent easements, and land acquisition for that project. And then lastly, the Fish Hatchery Road repair work that's going on at the Lacey and East Sherrill intersections. Lacey and East Sherrill intersections are complete. We're anticipating completing the remaining repairs by early next week. So the county is doing all that work and should be wrapping that up early next week. With that, does anyone have any questions?
Any questions for Tim? Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, regarding the Fish Hatchery Road changes, I noticed that they had repainted portions of the crosswalk. Are they going to do the whole thing or only where they're specifically doing work?
That's something I can follow up with Ross and the county on and report back at the next meeting with that. But yeah, I did notice some areas they just touched up and others were left. I don't know if they were planning on coming back or if that was the intent. So we can follow up with them and I can provide an update at our next meeting.
Okay. And then in that same area, I feel like there's still a couple of patches where there's small sections of asphalt that have been filled into various holes. Are those going to remain or are those going to eventually be replaced as part of this project as well?
Well, where specifically are these black? There's a lot of them out there still,
yeah,
and we're not going to get everyone, but the map that we had kind of showed the locations that we were repairing. So when we approved that money or funding, maybe take a look at that map and let me know. And
I'm not sure the map
Okay.
showed a detailed enough image for us to be able to see all of them. But at the Sherrill Road, Fish Hatchery and Sherrill, I think there's several scattered around that whole intersection.
Okay.
They're on the order of 1 foot on a side, that type of dimension.
Okay.
I
know
guess
they're-
I'll pay attention next time I go through there.
Okay.
But
They're working right now, I believe, north of East Sherrill's. So I'm not quite sure if they're planning on coming back if they're in the intersection. It's something I can check with Ross and see.
okay, I guess if they don't, I don't know whether those are going to become a problem in the near future or not.
I would add, with the Perry Street discussion, it might have been before I was born. Perry Street went, as many of the streets, along the Beltline, they went through, and then the divided highway that stopped and kind of cut things apart. So interesting to see what they come up with. I'm not sure why they picked that one, but thank you for the update, Tim. Okay.
I feel like there's been talk of reconnecting Perry Street for decades.
There has, okay. All right, then we're going to move on to our agenda items. I don't think we have anyone here so we're going to move it ahead for Zach here. I'd like to amend the agenda to move 7G to next on the agenda. We have We have a motion to do that?
I'll move to do that.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. So that brings us to Resolution R-15925, Final Assessment Resolution for the 2024 sidewalk replacement.
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Bill. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kim. I don't think we have anything else to add. I kind of got the cart before the horse and asked you all the questions here, but anything else you want to add? I think we...
Thank you.
All
That's
right,
it.
thanks for being prepared and answering our questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have any questions, I can always answer them over email.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have anything? We'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-15925, Final Assessment Resolution 2024 sidewalk, signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. Next takes us to Resolution R-14025, rejection of the number 12 well facility bids. Do we have a motion?
I so move we approve Resolution R-140-25.
Moved by Wilborn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Don. All right. Substantially higher, which is driving this, or was it only one bid?
We did receive 3 bids. The low bid was 28% higher than the engineer's estimate, and I believe the bids ranged from $3 million up to $4.9 million. Kind of what we're looking at, there's another agenda item later on in this evening's meeting to kind of discuss the design changes to remove an open air shelter to kind of bring down the cost and kind of also rebid it over winter.
Yep.
And still be able to meet the timeline from when the tower comes online.
Okay. All right. I think it's pretty clear. Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, we'll call the vote.
Wait.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Don.
And you're putting a redesign in here to try to get the cost down, contained. It's not a matter of just trying to rebid, see if we get better prices.
Yeah, it's kind of both. So how this facility was designed was slightly different than our previous well houses the city's typically done. So this includes bathrooms for the new Stoner Park Prairie, and then as part of the park improvements, there was a large open air shelter constructed as part of that project. But with the well facility, an open air shelter was also included, so we're looking to remove that, kind of save on the footings, the roof, the costs to construct that open air shelter here. And then there was some other changes to, like a generator's also included with this well facility, unlike the previous ones we've constructed.
I guess my question is, can we just do it as a contract mod with the low bidder?
No, it would need to be redesigned to remove that.
Okay, we just can't pull some of these features
No,
out
it would,
now.
like with how it was designed, the roof's going to have to be totally redesigned. The footings, you can't just remove the open air shelter.
Any questions? All right. Call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-14025, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries. Next, Resolution R-18325, authorizing the purchase of the plow truck equipment for the 4th chassis. We have a motion to approve.
I'll move approval of Resolution R-183-25.
Moved by Kim Lobdell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Don Kotowski. We approved the truck previously, and this is the equipment. The only question I have, what do you expect for delivery? Is this probably more like a winter of 2027 that this will be part of your fleet?
We're anticipating about 2 years, so about summer 2027, winter 27.
Okay.
So right now the city has 3 truck chassis sitting at Lakeside International. The 4th one that was approved back in September, we're looking they could probably have that built, I would say, late this year, early next year. So that right now what you're seeing is that the chassis have finally caught up and they're able to get those off. But now what's happening is the equipment manufacturers are all backlogged because these chassis are all coming on. So we'd still be anticipating about a year to 2 years for the 4 equipments to get added to our trucks. And the equipment's that the plow, the wing, the salter, pre-wet system, the box, and the hydraulics.
This, so we would not pay this though until we would approve this, but city isn't paying this bill until
we
delivery.
receive the truck, correct.
Okay, all right.
So they're all just sitting there waiting for the equipment, and will they do them one at a time, or can you get like 1 or 2? And
Depends on how the equipment manufacturers are. And the reason they're sitting at Lakeside is if we were to take hold of the truck, the warranty starts from the day we take hold of it. So luckily, Lakeside's willing to keep it on their lot so that warranty doesn't start.
Good, yeah, well played.
I see there's additional costs for add a wing side airbag. Do we have that on all of them?
So
I've
that
never
is
seen
something
that
that
before.
is recommended. I spoke to Mark about this. Our trucks currently don't have this, but the manufacturer strongly recommended it. And basically what it is when the wing hangs off on the passenger side, there's that added weight because it's hanging there. So this airbag kind of helps support it. It gets installed in between the leaf springs of the truck and just makes it last longer. Mark, he did say that if something does go wrong, it typically is with the leaf springs, so that this should help, make that last a little bit longer and not have us repair it. So,
Just curious. Thank you.
but we're not going to have it on the other 3 because we didn't know about it until then? Or?
So the other 3 we're going to change order in that, but with this resolution, we wanted to include it.
Thank you.
Tim, from a asset management standpoint, is there ever a point in time where we're caught up with our equipment?
So the supply chain has really obviously put us a little behind. All that means we're using our existing trucks longer and kind of building up the equipment replacement fund, since instead of the trucks getting replaced at 10 years, now, some trucks maybe 12, 13 by the time we replace it. But yeah, eventually we'll get there. You're starting to see it with the chassis. Right now, we just approved this in September, and once we get the contract to them signed and executed, Mark thought it would be a couple months by the time that chassis is done, where it was like a year or 2 before. Okay. So kind of once the equipment side of things get caught up, I think we'll eventually get back there. It might take several years though.
Okay. And then do you have to have an extra set aside for keeping these things going till you get it a couple of years from now, or?
Yeah, we finally incorporated a spare truck into our fleet, so if something does go wrong, or if a truck is down for a significant amount of time, we do have a backup that we can utilize. Also, what we have happened too during a snowplow event, if something does need to be repaired, our mechanic is one of our snowplow drivers. However, that means he's coming off the road and his route's not getting done while he fixes the truck that just went down, and then that driver would be using his truck or the spare truck.
Any other questions on this?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I guess kind of building off of both Kim and Don's questions about, timing and everything. Just from a management standpoint and not having spikes in expenditures, it'd be nice if we could have a steady flow of trucks rather than, hey, 2 years from now, we're going to get 4. How are we going to manage that, kind of bunching this up instead of getting a new truck every couple of years?
Yeah, I think, once we receive them, I think it's just taking a closer look at that vehicle replacement fund that we have for part of the CIP, and then, spacing it out. So it may be, hey, we got these 4 trucks all in this 1 year, so 10 years later, are we going to replace 4? No, maybe one gets replaced at 9, 110, 111, 112, maybe something like that, or maybe it's two a year for 2 straight years, or 2 space it a year and then 2 more, so that'd be 4 in 3 years. So it's something we can take a look at. Kind of want to look at it holistically with all the other equipment too, and not make sure that when these 4 are up that, the loader is not up or a tractor is not up or something like that.
And then if we do, like, if the target is 10 years and we want to space these out so we get a new one at 9 years, I presume then, the existing trucks are always going to go to auction, and the newer it is, the higher the price it'll fetch.
Yeah, yes and no. So kind of how Mark's been rotating it is we have a Salter and then the spare truck. So kind of those 2 are the oldest in the fleet. So what happens is when these come online, 2 of them are going to replace the Salter, or the pre-wet, I think he calls it, and then the spare, and then 2 would just replace the 2 remaining, and then those would catch higher, but then the spare and the pre-wetter would be our oldest trucks in the fleet, so wouldn't catch as much at auction.
Things you don't have to worry about in Florida.
No.
And final question, Tim. I think I asked it before, and the answer was the drivers do not like it, which I understand. Are we putting any sort of GPS tracker on these things so we know if they're doing routes and how long, to see if there's some efficiencies we can gain?
Yeah, we're talking about that internally right now. Kind of what we're looking at is we're experimenting with the street sweeper and GIS. So actually, we just got the iPad today and had training for the staff to kind of go out in the street sweeper, and it's GIS, and it locates, tracks them. They can track and log what streets get done. There's also a function that it can come up with the most efficient route too. So it's definitely, we talked about it internally, starting it on the street sweeper. And then once we kind of get the hang of that, bring it over to the snowplow and try to get that going with them. So yeah, there is talk, and eventually whether it's a GPS on each truck or it's an iPad tracking it, it's something we're definitely looking to and will be implementing, within the coming years.
Awesome. Great tell, it better not stop for the bathroom more once a day.
Go ahead, Bill.
That's what they're going to feel like to get tracked on.
Is that the same software, or is it different software where people can go and like drop a pin on the map and create a work order for, if they see a pothole or if they run over a mailbox with the snowplow?
Yes, so it's the same software. So the street sweeper has an iPad that's going to be mounted within the cab, tracking what streets get done, how much debris is getting picked up. And then at the same time, there's a function in the program where if there's a pothole or a curb or a manhole that needs to be tarred, they can click something, pin it, and then it goes back to the work order system, and Mark can assign it and kind of keep track, saying, hey, we have 20 potholes, the weather's going to be nice, we can pothole Thursday and Friday next week. So we're excited about it, especially with the efficiencies of it, and kind of, not just the routes, but with all the minor miscellaneous repair work that we see throughout the city, and keeping lists of and tracking of that. And you can establish due dates, you can assign it to staff members. So yeah, we're very excited about that.
Anyone else have anything on that? Thank you for that, all that additional information. All right, so that will call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-18325, authorizing the purchase of plow truck equipment for the 4th chassis, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Next, we have Resolution R-19025, approving agreement for subdivision improvements in the Gusto Development, CSM.
I'll move approval.
Moved by Alder Jetser, we have a second.
Second.
I like the name, because,
Gusto.
well, he's Gus Newcomb.
It's gusto, because there's an exclamation point.
Okay, so I think most, this is the kind of the triangular piece. It's approving subject developer, or approving the agreement for subdivision improvements, and this is kind of the tip of that triangle. If you look, McKee Road and Seminole with the bike trail on the other side, and this is the bottom. Look in the map, this is the bottom, is it the phase one?
Lacey and Seminole.
Lacey and Seminole, I'm sorry. Lacey and Seminole. And is this just the phase one here, Tim? Or?
Yes, this is phase one, so it's one building, 88 units.
Okay. So any questions on it? I didn't see anything unusual.
Not putting in any parks, it's all money that they're giving in? And
Correct.
Yeah.
Is there plans in the other phases, or don't know yet for sure?
No plans in the other phases, just parkland dedication.
We don't have any, don't have any public streets here with this.
No public streets. The water mains and sewer will have easements over. And that there will also be an easement over the bike path, just that the swale had to fit in between the bike path and the road, so part of it had to go on their property.
Okay.
But an easement would be...
All multifamily?
Yes, about 304 multifamily units. And then the northern end is general business, but unknown what's going there.
And so you mentioned a swale. Is there going to be a larger retention pond as well somewhere in there? Or what are the major, I guess, stormwater features that we should expect?
Yeah, stormwater will be all privately maintained on site. So your typical infiltration basin that they need to meet the state requirements, and then the pond. I don't know the exact location on site though.
Anything else? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-190-25 approving agreement for subdivision improvements in the Gusto Development, CSM, signify by saying aye. Aye. It is approved. Next, we have 7 Delta, Resolution R-192, accepting a public traffic signal easement in Outlot 3 of Jamestown Quarry. We have a motion to approve.
I'll move approval.
Moved by Alder Jetser. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kim. This would be the easement at McKee and Fitch Rona Road is approximately where this easement is. Play page down.
And this is not a traffic signal easement, right? This is like the electric
I thought
box.
they were
Yeah.
putting a roundabout.
No, not.
No, it's
Not-
so
that's down
Signal.
farther.
this is Jamestown Way and Fitchrona Road, and it's for the cabinet for the traffic signals.
Right, yes.
So where is Jamestown Way in relationship to McKee?
Jamestown Way will be north of McKee. It's the roadway within just north of the 4 outlots where the McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Chase Bank, and the car wash.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm further down Fitchburg Road yet.
There's a roundabout that's could be
Yeah,
down at
okay,
Fitch
I got
Rona
it.
and
I
King
was-
James Way.
I was south of McKee, not north of McKee.
The road, Fitch Rona did open up, just it's unrelated to this, or kind of, but opened up on Thursday, I think. Any other questions on this? Seeing none, we'll call the vote.
Tim, you don't, this is just the easement for the controller box.
Correct.
You don't,
Just
the
the
signals,
cabinet.
you got enough
Yeah,
space? and
signals, we have
signal-
enough right away to install those.
Thank you, Don, good question. Then I'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-192-25, accepting public traffic signal easement in Outlot 3 in Jamestown Quarry, signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. Next, we have Resolution R-182-25, approving Amendment 1 for well number 12 and Tower D Engineering Services. A motion to approve?
I'll move to approve Resolution R 182-25.
Moved by Kim Lobdell. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Wilborn. As Tim mentioned, removing the open-air shelter. Is there something else on the tower, too?
So it's kind of a two-part amendment. The first part is the redesign of well 12, which is removing the open air shelter. And then the second component is just for the consultant with the time extension with the water tower. The foundation had to be redesigned, so the schedule changed, and then just the hourly rate increase. So we had to come up with pay for the cost associated with that, the extended completion date of the project. And there were funds in the budget to cover that. The open air shelter, a budget amendments being done for, and there was staff vacancy funds in the Parks Department that can provide the budget for the redesign of the open air shelter.
So what is the amount of the amendment?
The amount of the amendment is $60,100.
And that includes the change in hourly rates with the time extension?
Yes,
Okay.
that does.
I'm sort of surprised that they know their rates for 26 to 27 at this point in time.
It's late in the year.
Well, 26 to 27, though.
26 to
Yeah, I mean, I can see
Yeah.
25 to 26,
Yeah.
but then they had the 26 to 27 ones in there. I'm like, oh.
There was a lot of back and forth with that. Tracy discussed that in very detail with them, so.
Time schedule changes, it's going to cost you. You're in that business, I'm in that business. Don with the state all the years knows that.
A lot, but
It does.
many times you cannot get it put into here. Like I said, I was surprised July 1st of 26 to June 30th of 27, but I'm sure Tracy's on it. She's good at that, so.
All right, any other questions? Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, so where did we get our wires crossed with having the open air shelter at the park, but it was also in the design for Well House 12?
You know, I wasn't a part of these discussions and what happened, because there were discussions, obviously, with the restrooms going into the well and why an open air shelter was put when a large one was included in the park improvements. I think from here going forward, that type of miscommunication won't happen with parks being included with public works, and kind of just that, collaboration going on that, where the right hand doesn't know what the left's doing type of thing. So.
Yeah, or maybe.
I'm thinking back myself, and I don't know if I was on Parks yet. I was certainly on Board of Public Works when it was discussed. And the first thing, on Parks, I remember one of the first things when I got on, we were design of the open air shelter down, for the park itself. And I'll take some blame for that.
Well, I wonder if it was that we had, park fees that we needed to spend to avoid refunding the developer? I don't know.
I don't think so, because we didn't have enough to do everything we wanted. Remember, we didn't have everything to do all the things we wanted down at the open air shelter and those things. So I don't think we had, it was a spend it or lose it thing, but I could be wrong. This is a live and learn. I should have headed this one off. Any other questions on that?
So there is no open air shelter going there.
At the well.
At the well. The other one's already built.
Yeah.
And the other thing I remember in this SCADA,
SCADA?
Yeah.
Supervisory control and
Data acquisition.
Correct.
Okay. I remember in the estimate, this one was a big difference than our engineering one. We're doing something to bring the cost down on this, or we're just diverting money to cover it now?
I would have to defer that to Tracy, and I can check with her tomorrow and report back at the next meeting.
Okay.
What exactly with SCADA, if anything, is involved in this amendment? It may just be that the time extension. I don't.
Okay. I just remember our engineering estimate being much different than what you got for bids. I don't see even rebidding it changing much, but I just thought if you're doing some more redesign, are you doing something in this world to bring the cost down?
Our SCADA costs would be higher here, with the tower and the well. That you'll get more monitoring there, but why it went up, yeah. Can you have Tracy get back to us, Tim, on that?
Will do.
Thank you for raising that issue, Don. Yeah. Any other?
That wasn't interesting. Well, if you look at the bids, you've got a low bid of 350,000 and a high bid of 930, and then another one for 800,000 for the SCADA upgrades. That did stand out to me as well.
It seems, 300,000 is a number I would, passes my smell test. The other ones, I'm putting in SCADA systems all the time. It's a big part of my job, and they are not costing anywhere near
That kind of money.
near that. But the water is a little more specialized than the electric that I work on. All right, then we'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-18225 approving Amendment 1 for the well number 1, well number 12, and Tower D engineering, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Brings us back to holding tanks. Okay. Next, we have Resolution R-18925, conditionally approving a holding tank at 2309 Tulare Street.
Tulare.
Tulare Street.
I got a
Tulare
cousin
Street,
that-
yeah,
I got a
you're
cousin
right.
that lives there. That's why I don't.
I'm thinking of New Orleans with Tulane. Okay. I'm sure, I don't know what kind of sewers they have there. They're below sea level. All right, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve R-18925.
Moved by Don, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Jetser. Discussion. What is driving this one? Just if anyone's still awake watching.
So at 2309 Tulare Street, the septic system has failed and the soil conditions are not suitable. They submitted a permit application for installation of a holding tank. The city's ordinance prohibits the holding tank for new construction and for any building built after September 24th, 1980. Holding tank may be approved to service structures in existence prior to September 24th, 1980 if a conventional system cannot be installed due to soil conditions. City records show this house was constructed prior to 1980, so Public Works is recommending approval of the holding tank permit application with the following conditions: just that it cannot be subdivided unless the holding tanks permitted through this approval is abandoned. And then no renovations nor additions may be approved for uses that would increase the amount of sanitary sewage currently generated on this property. And then third, a recorded copy of the holding tank agreement shall be submitted to the city prior to installation of the holding tank.
Okay. Thank you for a very concise description.
How big a tank they putting in?
This one would be 3,000 gallons.
So I have a question, and we discussed it a little bit earlier before the meeting. This is like in a rural subdivision, and there are other houses around. Are they all on septic systems? Is there a problem with the soils in the area? Are we going to expect to see more of this? Or what, is this an isolated situation? It just seems that we're opening up a big can of worms here.
Well, that's the Gold subdivision, and then remember when we had trouble with the well system and everything?
Septic system has a limited life.
Yeah.
That's a given. There's nothing you can do about it, and if it fails, if you don't have another place other land,
Yeah, we currently, the city does not have sewer in this area, so I suspect most of them are on septic tanks, if not a couple holding tanks maybe in there, and this is just located off Irish Lane, which is where the city is looking to extend sewer at some point. But yeah, I would suspect that if you see it on this one, that, you know, you might
Others are gonna be
see
following.
others kind of follow it. I believe kind of the county provided a summary letter on what was all found, and the backyard on this particular residence was sloped greater than 25%, which
yes.
isn't
Oh,
allowed
no.
per current.
Yeah.
So, you know, you think you're gonna probably see a couple more of these potentially if they do fail.
Based on the age of the subdivision and things, I think it's.
Are they all on well also?
Gold?
No,
gold
water,
is water.
water was
Okay.
installed in
Yeah.
the neighborhood.
There was an initial, the gold water system was installed initially by the developer. It was a small private well, didn't do very good. And then I think we went through and installed
Well, at
water
least
later.
that's good, so won't be putting in a bunch of holding tanks with a bunch of
No, you
wells.
can't have, yeah.
Tim, the page 2 of 12,
You know these people?
the box isn't checked that says a letter from the Dane County stating they reviewed the conditions and no other septic system will conform. Is that just, you missed checking that box, or you mentioned a letter from Dane County? Did they actually review the site and just explore if there was other alternatives, like a mound or something else?
Yeah, there is a letter which is page 5 of 12
Probably straight out from there.
from Molly, and she's the public health sanitarian for.
Okay, so the box that.
Yeah, it looks like
they just missed it.
must have just missed checking that box.
Okay, I just didn't know if it was, there's a different person that reviews versus Molly, so.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so it said there was a soil test conducted, but it seems like the biggest problem was the topography. Though it does say in the letter, it shows modeling seasonal groundwater saturation at 12 inches. The system is not loading at least 3 feet above seasonal groundwater saturation. Can you explain what that means in layman's terms?
Well, the groundwater's high, and you don't have that proper separation where the drain field can drain
The sand?
without hitting that groundwater right away. So that, I guess that's my best explanation.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess,
But it looks like on the soil evaluation report, which is page 6 of 12, you know, under their general comments and recommendations, no suitable area for drain field holding tank recommended. It looks like that report was completed. I'm looking for a date. Not seeing a date on it. May 27th, 2025. So the last 5 months.
and so I guess just kind of circling back, this whole neighborhood is probably on septic, but these lots are half an acre or less. I think, don't we have ordinance right now that says you need at least 1 acre to have a septic system? So all of these things are just grandfathered in and will likely be failing in the next couple decades?
Yes.
And in this case, if we say they're not allowed to have a holding tank, that means the house just needs to be abandoned, right?
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't be able to
Couldn't have
Stay
occupancy.
in occupancy.
handle the sewer,
Right.
so.
It's part of a growing city. Sooner or later, you gotta go in there and bring the utilities to it.
Yeah. All right, any further discussion? Then I'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R 18925, conditionally approving a holding tank on 2309 Tulare Street, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Our next Board of Public Works meeting is Monday, November 3rd. Let me know if you can't make it. This time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Hold on one moment.
Did I miss one?
No, but it's worth noting that the day before is when we switch our clocks back.
Oh, thank you.
So make sure you show up at the appropriate hour.
Bill, thank you.
Take a whole day to recognize you haven't got your clock ahead.
Yes, thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move we adjourn.
Moved by Dave Wilburn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Don. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned at 7:15.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.